Welcome to the Creator's Adventure, where we interview creators from around the world, hearing their stories about growing a business. My name is Brian McAnulty. I'm the founder of Heights Platform, and today I'm talking with Chris Miles about how being over $1 million in debt helped him gain the skills to be able to build a thriving business and how your business can thrive during a recession. Hey everyone, we're here today with Chris Miles, the cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor, a leading authority teaching entrepreneurs and professionals how to get their money working for them. Chris is an author, podcast host of the Chris Miles Money Show, and has been featured in major publications such as US News, CNN Money, and more. His company Money Ripples helps achieve fast financial results, and in fact, his personal clients have increased their cash flow by almost $300 million in the last 12 years. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's a pleasure to be here, Brian.
So my first question for you is, can you share with us a little bit of the story of how you started your business and the idea behind Money Ripples?
Yeah. As a kid growing up, and maybe I'm like a lot of you where, I was raised by good parents. They were good, hardworking people, had taught me good values. But when it came to money, they were, that's where they kind of lacked in the education department, right? Most of the time is usually a conversation about the scarcity of money than anything. Things like, hey, we can't afford it, or money doesn't grow on trees, or what do you think I am, made of money? The one that was the saddest one I heard from my dad was, I'm going to work until I die. Like, he would keep saying that over and over. And he came from that kind of depression mentality that you work for a company for 40 years, eventually you get a nice retirement. But the problem is the companies wouldn't stay loyal to him, and they would lay him off or cut his job down to where he'd cut his pay and things like that. So he was always struggling for money. And even though he was a good middle class guy, still he never felt like he could get out of that rat race. And so, at that dinner table, I vowed I'm not going to be that kid. I'm not going to follow my father's footsteps. So when I went to college, I wanted to control my own destiny. I decided to become an entrepreneur. I actually dropped out of college to do so. And as I became an entrepreneur, the first thing that really came up that intrigued me was becoming a financial advisor. I thought, well, man, like if I can learn about money and do it differently than my dad did, this would be worth it. So after years of training, I got to the point where I sat down with my dad where he was asking me for advice versus giving me the money advice, right? And as he sat down with me, and he did everything right? I mean, he was cheap. He was a penny pincher. He scrimped. He saved everything. Packed in his 401k. He paid off his house early. I mean, he was like a Dave Ramsey's proudest moment. And then as I looked at his finances, realized he was nowhere even close to becoming financially free. In fact, I told him, I said, Dad, I hate to say this, but you've got 5 years of retirement and then you're out of money. That's it. So you almost will work until you die. And he's like, well, what else can I do? I said, well, I don't know. I don't have the answer. And I realized that even though I was trying to go a different path than him, I was actually on the same exact path because I was penny pinching. I was saving everything I could as a financial advisor to try to become financially free someday. I was trying to pay off my debt. I was doing all the same mistakes that he had made himself. And that's when I was realizing, like, wait a minute, this isn't working. And make matters worse, it wasn't just working for him or me, but it wasn't working for any of my clients either, because my clients weren't financially free if you were to really look at their finances honestly. And so I remember a few weeks later, I'm talking with a friend who left being a financial advisor to go do real estate investing. And I said, well, hey, how are things going with that? And I was expecting him to say, oh, it sucks, right? Nope. He's like, man, Chris, life has never been better. My dad and I have partnered on some deals, and we've doubled his income as a professor at the local university. I said, oh, come on. That's too good to be true. There's no way. Stocks are better, right? And finally, after this little debate, he said, Chris, how many of your clients are financially free where they don't worry about money? I said, well, none. Okay, good job, Chris. Well, how about this? How many of you guys as financial advisors are financially free, not off the commissions you're earning from taking this business in, but actually doing these investments? And I said, well, I know there's guys been working there since the late 1970s, so I would say none of them. And he said, "Well, there's your problem, Chris." And so over the ensuing months, I started trying to learn what he was doing, and in fact, I even quit being a financial advisor. I couldn't stay in integrity and teach anymore if it wasn't working. And months later, I was actually become financially independent myself, where I had enough passive income coming in to pay my expenses as a 28-year-old, which was something that was unfathomable even as a financial advisor. I was hoping and praying I could do it by 40 if I was lucky and I was cheap, 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 right? But no, I mean, I did it just months later, doing the opposite advice of what financial advisors teach. And that's the big epiphany for me, is that now what we do is we teach people how to get out of the rat race, how to have enough passive income where you're work optional. You work because you want to, not because you have to. And it's an empowering place, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because every entrepreneur needs passive income. Every entrepreneur needs, especially after 2020, when business became non-essential, right? I mean, we could be shut down in a heartbeat, even if we control and own our own businesses. And so that's the big thing that we're really out there preaching today with Money Ripples, is how do we get you to a place where you got multiple streams of passive income coming in, where your money's working harder for you than you are working harder for money.
Got it. Well, yeah, that's awesome. By 28 even. So I think you made a really interesting point there that I think it's the way I like to think of it as well, or like, I don't know, the way that it made sense to me becoming an entrepreneur, that it's not actually less risky to work for somebody else than to start your own business. Because if you
Yeah.
work for somebody else, everybody, the traditional outlook on that is, oh, this is stability. But the reality is that hopefully you have a great boss. Hopefully your boss cares about you, but the company doesn't necessarily care about you. And that's
That's
just the
right.
unfortunate reality. You could be laid off. You could lose what you're hoping is that actual stability. And when you're building something yourself, yes, that's difficult. Yes, there's so much risk involved and all of these things, but you're in control of your own destiny in what
Yeah.
I feel, at least, a much more certain way.
hmm Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's the thing, is that security and freedom are in opposition to each other, right?
Mm.
I mean, if you want maximum security, go to a maximum security prison, right? I mean, they'll give you 3 square meals a day, they give you a roof over your head, clothes on your back, even if it's the same color, right? I mean, they give you, TV privileges, workout time. I mean, you get all that good stuff. The problem is you're still in prison. And that's the one thing that's it's different between us as entrepreneurs versus those that are working as employees, and we need both, right? There's different personalities and different strengths for each one, but yeah, it's one of those things where you work for somebody else, you have no guarantees, and even as a business owner, even though I have more control over my own destiny, what I've started to realize is that the government, they could essentially be like a boss and lay us off too if they chose to. So if I had to choose between the two, obviously I chose being an entrepreneur because I like that kind of control and freedom. But that's where I learned that I can't just rely on one stream of income to keep me safe. It's got to be multiple streams to keep me going.
Got it. So you're known as the Anti-Financial Advisor. Can you explain a little bit more about like the reasoning and what's behind this name?
Yeah, I mean, like you noticed, I mean, I don't believe in mutual funds and the stock market and those kind of things. I mean, you take high risks to get mediocre returns. I just did the numbers just yesterday, in fact, and the average, even with the S&P 500, the average over the last 30 years has not been 10 or 12% like every financial advisor claims. It's 7.75% currently, and that can go up or down depending on what happens in the next few years. And that's before fees come out. That's before taxes and everything else. So you take these high risks, just like my dad did. When I met with him as a financial advisor, Y2K had just hit his retirement account. He was hoping to retire around 2000. When the market tanked, he knew he had to delay it. Well, it started to come back, and then bam, the recession hit. He'd had to delay retirement again. He had to delay it until really 2016, 2017, when he was forced to retire based on his health. He was over 70 by this point. And that's where people are aiming. I mean, remember, he did everything right, yet he still had to delay his retirement. And that's what I'm seeing happening across the country, is that people keep buying into this traditional thing of, spend nothing, save everything, save it forever, and hopefully someday you have something. But in truth, you got to do something completely different. And so when we teach it, we talk about going in the alternative investment space, which doesn't mean that it's in this dark underground or anything like that. There's literally probably 20, 30 million of us that do this just in the country, right? Which is doing things with different types of real estate investing, things with, I can even pool money together with other investors to go buy an apartment building. I don't have to do it myself. In fact, I'm very passive. I don't have to go and find the deals or anything like that. I just have a network of people that offer those deals for me. And then we go in together and we're making 10, 15, 20% returns a year on our money. And even better is that it actually provides real passive income now, not just, hey, when you're 60, you might have something there, right? So for example, there's a military commander that was in California. He just retired last year. And he's saying, okay, Chris, I have about $1 million retirement plan that I had with the military here. What do I do with it? Because so far my financial advisor said I can pull off about $2,000 a month. So, I think about it, you're a millionaire, right? But you're pulling off like $25,000, $30,000 a year. That's like a broke millionaire. You're living in poverty line. And so he said, can I do something different? And so over the last 6 months, he started doing different things with like actual like turnkey rentals where you don't manage the property, and not in the West Coast where he was, out in like the Midwest, Southeast, where he's making 10+% returns on that money. He's did things with like oil and gas, for example. He did some things with some apartments and whatnot. And all in all, now his passive income is at $12,000 a month, not a couple thousand, like the financial advisor was saying. And so that's the big difference, is that we actually get your money to really work for you, where you can make at least a 10+% return, and it's paying you income now versus I hope someday I make something.
Cool. So yeah, I want to ask a couple questions to see how we can kind of apply this to like our creators in our audience, so they can get some ideas for themselves. And I want to preface it with that like we're not providing financial advice or anything here on this podcast. It's for entertainment and hopefully to inspire you to go out and do some research on your own. But so you've been helping clients for many years now. You're growing their portfolios and helping them create cash flow. So when you start working with a new client, what would you say is like the biggest common mistake that you see made?
Well, the biggest common mistake, especially with entrepreneurs, is that they're not tracking their money. I mean, that's got to be the number one. Is you got to, just like you watch your money in your business, you got to watch it at home too. And sometimes you're not doing either. Yeah, and that's the most common first step that I think that everybody needs to do. Don't worry about budgets. I mean, budgets is a bad word anyways. I don't like that. I like to create spending plans, because even in business, you spend money so that you can make more, right? I mean, you understand investing already. In fact, if you take the very things you learn from business and apply it to your personal finances, you'll actually be more of the anti-financial advisor than you think, because that's exactly what we're doing. Is we're just taking the same thing you do as an entrepreneur, apply it to personal. And so you got to track your money, how much money is going out and also how much is coming in. I had one entrepreneur that she was a graphic designer, just always busy, 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 go, 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 right? And she's like, Chris, I'm too busy to track my money. And I said, well, in my experience, and this is after working with hundreds and hundreds of clients, I was like, in my experience, if you say you're too busy, you're losing at least $500 a month. And it's not even just blowing money. In fact, that's what we found out with her, is that she wasn't just blowing money, but it's like, we found things like subscriptions. Like they were still paying for Comcast, like $300 a month because you want to watch sports. I'm like, you can get streaming services for way cheaper than that now. You don't need that crap. You can save a few hundred a month there. And so we just started, looking at places where it just wasn't, it wasn't doing them any good. It wasn't really adding to their lifestyle anyways. We end up freeing up $1,800 a month.
Wow.
So you can imagine someone who's like busy, 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 busy now frees up $22,000 a month. You can imagine that now she doesn't have to be so busy. She can relax a little bit, which actually, funny enough, when you relax in your business, you actually earn more money in your business, because you don't need that next customer, that next client to be able to make things work. I had somebody else, a couple, they were making $250,000 a year together and they couldn't figure out why they're paycheck to paycheck. In their case, they were blowing money. They just didn't know it. We found out just eating out, she was spending $5,600 a month just eating out. That didn't include the grocery bill, which was like $1,200, $1,300 a month. So we actually had them do some adjustments, freed up like that year, like between that and some taxes, we saved on taxes and stuff too. It was like $70,000 a year we saved just there. And that wasn't even doing anything with investing. So that's why that's that first step. Even more recently, I had a couple where they actually freed up $4,000 a month. Consolidating some of their debts and things like that, all because we actually looked at the money and started tracking it and understood what's there, what are the resources you have. And then you can kind of move to that next step, which is, all right, now I have money. What if I have money in savings or whatever? I'll tell you, another mistake in business that people make is they don't focus on profit in their business. It's funny because people say, I reinvest my profits. What that really means is you're not profitable. If you were to quote Mike Michalowicz, who wrote Profit First, right? I remember hearing him speak. I actually had him on my podcast recently, and he's like, "Hey, listen, if you don't have profit, you're not. If you're reinvesting your profits, you're not profitable. You don't really have profit. You need to get money away from your business too. You got to bring that profit home. Otherwise, you're just spending money in the business, and you'll actually create your own rat race." And that's a common thing I see with entrepreneurs. It's not just like in the beginning, I understand reinvesting in your business, but it gets to a point, and you always do to some level, right? We're always spending money in the business. But sometimes it becomes a habit where you put all of your money back in the business and you're taking no money out, and you become the lowest paid employee of your business. And that should never be the case. You should be the best paid employee if you're the reason that the company exists in the first place. You should be the highest paid employee, not the other way around. So focus on profit and then take that profit home. And then that's the money you can use to generate other streams of passive income that creates that actual stability, that security where, like I said, like the funny thing is that when you get to that place, you relax, you end up making more money. I had another client in the Midwest did the same thing. We ended up freeing up $50,000 a year, like $4,200 a month for him. And then we freed up some money in taxes. But then the cool thing is because he relaxed a little bit, his conversion, his sales conversion percentage increased because now he wasn't like so stressed for money where he was kind of pushing away business. He had to work harder to make the same money. He started to relax. He started having fun in his business again. And the thing is, just within a few months, he's making an extra $2-3 grand a month. So even though we might have used, and we actually cashed out part of his retirement, which you'd think, oh, that's stupid. Every financial advisor would say that's bad. Don't ever cash out retirement. But cashing out just 100 grand of his retirement to help free up some money, help him get more breathing room to then generate more income in his business that end up totaling like $90,000 that year. I mean, think about it. Most people, if they have $100,000 with a financial advisor, if they make 10%, they're thrilled, right? That's $10,000. He made $90,000. I can guarantee no financial advisor will say, "Oh yeah, I'll make you $90,000 of that 100 grand." It'll just never happen. And that's why like money is never just a separate thing. We can't compartmentalize like us men love to do, right? We like to compartmentalize everything. Everything flows into everywhere. And so when you're more free with your money, when you know that your personal finances are taken care of, you relax and your business actually makes more money too.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's really interesting that in school they don't teach you any of this really, and there's things that it's
Yeah.
not that complicated when you sit down and actually do them. And like you're saying, just to track and look at what's happening in your business, in your life. And I could relate to some of your examples that starting out my business as a freelancer and then turning it into more of a business in 2009. I was kind of like that. I wasn't really paying attention to what I was really earning. I was figuring, okay, I'm busy. There's
Yeah.
invoices. Money's coming in. Okay, I'll just keep doing that and I keep working, and that's what'll happen. But I didn't really pay attention to it. And
Mhm.
some of the same kind of mistakes. Saying like, okay, well, I'll reinvest this thing into the business. That makes sense. But then, yeah, some
Yeah.
of that became a habit. And then some of the things I wasn't really paying attention to. What am I actually earning? And it was working out okay. But the problem was until I got to the point that I just really took a look at that, I wasn't able to really
Mhm.
grow past what I had been doing for a couple years. And once I took a look at that, I was
Yeah.
able to see, okay, well, if I want to get beyond this, then I have to realize that certain things have to take less time, have to be done a different way, have to get more clients from this thing or that. And that completely changed everything for me, I feel.
Yeah. It's true. It like really paying attention. Whatever you put your attention towards will grow and expand, right? And most of us will hyper focus on revenue. We're just like, how do I get that? How do I just keep making more and more money? And we just keep hustling and keep hustling. But the truth is how much do you really keep? How much profit do you really have? That's always the most important number. Even if your company was a stock, if you became a stock, guaranteed every investor looking at your company would say, I don't care about revenue. What's your profit? Like, what do you actually have as extra ability to reinvest in your business if you want to, or be able to have that buffer and be able to have extra assets and money that you have under your own management. That's what really matters is how profitable can you be? I mean, heck, I even hit seven figures in my business spending less than 10 grand a month. I mean, if I can do that, again, been more of a coaching business, right? But if I can create that kind of thing, everybody else can too. You can get to a place where you get lean and mean, just become a profit machine. And then you start to do that, then that opens up so many more options in the rest of your life too.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough because like you see examples probably of business owners where they've grown to the point of success where they're making $1 million a year, a few $1 million a year, but then their actual
Hmm.
profit and what they get to keep is this really small amount. It's probably under $100,000, and they're just about able to survive. They're paying their employees, they're paying all their expenses. But then you have somebody else out there who they're just by themselves. They don't have employees. They don't have a giant office, and
Hmm.
maybe they're only making $100,000 a year, but it's what they're doing themselves, and it's almost all profit. And of course,
Yeah.
like there's different businesses. I know different people enjoy doing different things, but I think there are a lot of examples out there of people who have gotten to this point that people would look at it from the outside and think, oh, they must be really successful. But lack of maybe looking at how they're managing their own spending on certain things, they're actually not getting to keep the money that they're earning.
Yeah. I mean, the true measure of success is really how much freedom do you really have? Can you step away from your business? And of course, in the beginning, we all get it. And you start a brand new business, you're not going to be able to do much of anything other than try to get that business off the ground, right? It's always that extra effort. It's just like pedaling a bicycle. You start to pedal that first gear, just trying to get it moving before you can start shifting those gears. And then it starts to increase more and more speed with less and less effort, right? They get that momentum behind you. So we get it if it's in the beginning stages, but don't get caught in the trap that seasoned business owners get into where they keep that habit going. They keep pushing, 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 and they're focused on just that revenue, getting that top line up, but their bottom line's going up too, and they're just trapped in their own business. They created a very high paying job. They created their own rat race, and you don't never want to be in that place.
Yeah. So many people and financial experts believe that we might now be moving towards a global economic recession. Is this something you would
Mhm.
agree with? And if you do, can you share some tips about how other online business owners or entrepreneurs can uh, get through this recession or even potentially profit from it?
Yeah, I do believe we're moving to a recession. It's interesting that people are finally starting to say it. And in fact, because so many people are saying it, some people are saying, well, maybe it's not a recession. I mean, this would be, like my third recession I've been through. I mean, ever since Y2K recession, then we had the recession from, the last Great Recession. Now we have this one. I wouldn't count 2020 as much of a recession. It was supposed to go into recession, but we just delayed it, right? So we just overinflated the balloon even more, and now it's just piddling out. One thing I would definitely say is every recession is different. So if you try to live by the rules of the last recession, and I mean, when I say like the rules, I mean like by the strategies of the last recession, you'll lose. Like I have so many people that say, oh, well, really, remember when real estate tanked? That was bad. Well, yeah, well, so did stocks. They tanked too. Bonds tanked, everything tanked. But it doesn't mean it's going to happen this way again. There's been many recessions where the stock market went up, even though I'm anti-stock market. It could go up even if you're in a recession, right? Real estate, I don't think will go down. I do think like pockets of like California, some of those hot markets will drop a little bit, but the real estate that I do, it's like very stable and steady. Always there's risk, but again, if you create those multiple streams of income, I think that's one of the safest things you can do right now to provide that safety. That being said, in your business, the best thing you do in a recession is focus on principles first, then strategies come second. And I'll even say, like, even my own personal, I went through the last recession, went over $1 million in debt. I went back in the rat race during the last recession, had to dig my way back out, even without filing for bankruptcy. A long road, but eventually by 2016, I was back out of the rat race again, where I had enough passive income to pay for my expenses, right? But it applied the same principles. By the way, I went through a divorce during that period of time too, in 2015, so that set me back a little bit too.
That's a lot.
And it kind of sucked. It's like a country song, but but here's the thing that was cool is that, I mean, the principles that always apply, that always works through every one of those recessions, still works even through this one, which is how do you go about solving problems, serving people, or adding value in a way where money is just a natural byproduct. It's always about how do you create value, right? How do you become valuable to other people where they know that their life is better having you in it than not in it at all, and they're willing to pay to have your whatever it is that you offer, your service, your product, whatever it is, to have that in their life, that's what they want. So many people, the people that get this actually not only make it through a recession, but they thrive through recession. They actually end up squashing their competitors, not because they're trying to squash competitors, but because the competitors during recessions usually start backing off. I saw this in 2020 in March. Everybody's freaking out. Everybody stopped advertising all of a sudden. Like people start holding on to their money. That was the time I was like, let's get aggressive. I started putting more money towards marketing and advertising. I thought this is beautiful. And it was such a short period of time. People kind of came back a few months later because governments were pumping money in artificially, but that was a perfect opportunity. And I think that's going to happen again, where people are going to get scared. They're going to start pulling back, and this is your opportunity to shine. And so if you, again, focus on the true principle, which has worked from the beginning of time, that's always helped people prosper financially, which is how do I go about serving people and solving problems in a way that they want to be able to pay to have that service or that product in my life. Always look at that. Always look at what kind of solutions you can provide. You're a solutions provider, right? Always look at that, and as long as you help people get what they want, you'll never want for money.
Yeah, it's a great way of putting it. And yeah, I think as for those out there who are coaches and course creators, like you're doing something like that already in your business. And so
Yeah.
whether times are tough or not, like the value that you're providing, like it's still there. There still is value. So I like that point. So you talked about diversifying assets and having these different income streams, things like that. What would you say is maybe an example for like creators out there that they could create another income stream for themselves? So somebody out there who maybe they're a coach, they're a course creator. What's another income stream they could create to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, so there's two types of income streams you can create, right? Other than your active income stream. And the actives are fine. That's your economic engine, but you need to have other streams. So there's residual and then there's passive. This is kind of how I define it. I define residual as like passive income inside your business, while passive income is income that comes from outside your business. So for example, residual income, I mean, you can definitely do things where, you're trying to create alliances. You can create affiliate type relationships where you say, hey, listen, you offer a great service. If I funnel people your way, I've got connections. If I can connect you, can I get a paid, a referral fee or some kind of, affiliate fee or whatever it might be? A great way to be able to say, here's a way we can offer something of value that we don't have to deliver on, right? It's a great alliance, so building alliances, which during a recession is great. Just like getting lean and mean during a recession, right? You got to make sure you're really lean with your expenses and make sure you're doing everything really well, like focus on profit. Same thing, create alliances so that you have multiple streams that way. You can create other things that are like, depending on what kind of business you're in. I mean, there's online types of education and things that you can do that can offer, or intellectual property you can offer that can be sold. But again, it just depends on your business. You have various ways you can create other streams of income. But I would say at least one thing that binds everybody together, whether you're a product or service business, is creating affiliations, right? Creating those affiliate type of relationships or referral relationships that can be valuable and actually can support each other even during good or bad times. On the passive side, this is where you got to start building up some savings. Now, if you only have like $20,000 in personal savings, great, keep building that up. Your first step is just to build a 6-month cash reserve. And in business, this is the thing that I ignored. Even just before I got out of the rat race, I was like, well, if I can just keep reinvesting, keep investing every dollar I have. But it seemed like every time I got all my money out, something would come up where I'm hustling again for money, right? Having that good 6 months of expenses, of your monthly expenses that are sitting in savings, great way to do it. And there's better ways. There's ways you can make more than point nothing percent in your bank account. Like I teach a concept that's on my website, moneyripples.com, called infinite banking, that you can actually make a lot higher returns than you do at the bank, and it's tax free. There's things like that you can do to diversify your emergency fund and things like that. But still, it's really about building that cash reserve first. Then once you go above and beyond that, you keep taking more profit, you start building it up. Then we can start investing in other places, especially if you have at least 25 to 50 grand. And actually, you don't even need that much, but that's where most of the investments are that are good. 25 to 50 grand. I mean, you can go into investment generating at least another few hundred or so dollars a month off of that. I mean, simple math. If you have $100,000 that you can go and use to invest, you should be able to generate at least $10,000 a year, right, from that money. It won't cover all your expenses all at once, but it can at least get you to a good place. And so again, make sure that profit comes home starts to build up that savings, those reserves, so that he can start building up those passive streams. I'll give you an example. I had a guy, he actually works in the film industry out in Hollywood. And of course, it's always with projects, right? He might be working on a big movie, and then there might be a few months where he has off. So his income's like this, and then it's like this, right? And so with him, like we had about $400,000, even money that was like equity in his house, we were able to pull out. He has some money in savings as well. Even these crappy retirement accounts, we found ways to be able to get the money out of it, get it out of prison, as I call it, right? Get the money out and be able to use it. And it's generating now for him over $4,000 a month. So even when he has those months where he's off the film industry, he's not trying to hustle to get to that next project. He's like, hey, I've got 4,000 a month coming in. I can take my time. I can relax because that was a grueling, 20-hour type work days I was working. Let's take a break for a while and then worry about my next project later. And so it kind of just gives him that freedom to release and get rid of those big roller coaster months that he has. I have another client right now. She's actually in network marketing. And it's kind of cool because for her, I mean, obviously they always talk about freedom and stuff, which is great. But for them, she's like, you know what? Even though I have that stream of income coming in from my business, I want to just be free regardless of that. So then if I'm ever bringing more people in my company, I could say, I don't need you. Honestly, I don't need you at all. I don't need your business. And with her, that now her and her husband or her young family, they homeschool. Now they're traveling around Mexico and Costa Rica, live this expat life. And she doesn't even, and now all the money coming in from her business is gravy. And so, and they did things, bought some, what are called turnkey rentals, which is rentals you buy, but you don't manage them. Some other property manager does all the work for you. I've got several. I don't even know the names of my tenants. I mean, I have the contract if I have to pull it up, but I don't know them. I don't deal with them at all. The property manager deals with all that stuff. I just get paid the money, right? Same thing if I have money in raw land. Even I'm getting paid from $100,000. I invest in raw land. I'm getting paid $4,500 a month off that. And just different things you can do. Apartment buildings and self-storage units. Self-storage units, by the way, are great in a recession because people will downsize and use storage units more. Same thing with affordable housing. So I mean, there's so many things you can do. Oil and gas. I've got money in oil and gas right now. If I got to pay more at the gas pump, I might as well profit from it too. And so there's so many different things you can do that really just create a lot of just extra streams of income that can free you of your time, free you of your business, but allow you to build it worry free.
Yeah. I think a way I like to think about it, I guess, is for somebody listening to this, like if you're just starting out in your business, you're not really making too much money yet, and this idea of even having this extra money to invest somewhere seems like a pipe dream at this point. What I would say is like a really motivational way to kind of look at this is that I think that a lot of people struggle where they reach some certain level of income and then they have some spending in their business, in their life, and they're content, or it's good enough, it's working out. But then for whatever reason, and things change in your life, you have a bigger family, you need a bigger house, you want your business to grow. There's this gap suddenly, and the getting across those gaps is where everyone faces difficulty, I think, because now you're at this level and now you realize you need to be at the higher level, but your income doesn't magically just jump to the higher level. You have to grow your business or do something else. And getting to the point of having some kind of other income stream or these other investments can help make those gaps, instead of feeling like this, be more at least like a wave, I feel like. And so yeah, that's a way I like to look at it. But definitely, I think it's super powerful to consider things like this.
Well, even if your business is a side hustle, I mean, a lot of times people are like, if I can just get my business to the point where I can replace my income at my job, well, great. If we got money that you already been building up and saving for that, maybe we can use your money differently to help get you there faster. So while you're building your business, build some passive income so you can make the leap faster into your business, but have some safety too at the same time, where you're not just starting from zero in your business, right? So there's so many ways to do it, but you're right. I mean, if you're just starting out, you're just barely getting business off the ground, you're just paycheck to paycheck, your biggest thing is just to get some cash reserves. It might only be 2 weeks of savings. It might be a month's worth of savings. Just having that savings there, even if you could use it to invest, hold it. That's the one thing my wife taught me. She's like, wait, you just keep reinvesting your money, or you keep paying off a debt with it, especially when I was over $1 million in debt. You just keep paying off. Keep some money and still don't use it. which was so hard to do, especially because I created the habit as an entrepreneur to always use my money. Best thing I ever did. Like I actually got to my goals faster, not using the money and letting it sit there and create that little safety net, that security. And you definitely need it if you're trying to make a launch into your business full time. You've got to have that safety net and security so then you know you can make the launch and not spaz out, right? Because the more you go into scarcity in business, the more you drive business away, which means you just have to hustle harder. If you can just be relaxed when you go into business and be able to say, I'm good, I'm financially set, I don't need this money. Like I want it and I know I can serve people, but I don't need the money. I'll tell you, it's amazing how customers and clients will respond so differently to you than if you're trying to go out and hustle, right? I hate the word hustle. If
Mm.
somebody just keeps trying to go out and hustle, hustle, hustle all the time, they just burn themselves out. And you don't have to do that. It's not about working harder or even smarter. It's just about working with the right energy to attract the massive amount of business that you deserve.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. Yeah, it may take effort to build up some of that savings and the mindset shift to create that, but really you're fighting against your mindset and everything. You're making it harder for yourself if you
Mm,
don't have that to try to present yourself the right way in front of potential clients and everything like that. So I totally agree.
that's right.
So you have your own podcast, the Chris Miles Money Show. And in our research, we were listening to one of your recent episodes where you talked about inflation and you said that the best hedge against inflation is to increase your skill set. Can you explain a
Yeah.
little bit more about that?
Yeah, kind of go back to what I said earlier, right? Where we're talking about like how do you go about serving people and solving problems? Always look for ways to better yourself, to increase your skills, increase your ability to be better at what you do. Whatever your niche is, whatever your ability is in your business, keep just getting better at that. Like for example, I mean, during the last recession, I was teaching people about money and it was very theoretical, had some practicality, but there wasn't a lot of like rubber meets the road. It was more like mindset stuff, which is needed. But during the recession, of course, I remember a lot of people kept telling me, Chris, like, we'd love to pay you, but we just can't find the money. Now, I wouldn't tell them this at the time, but remember, I was over $1 million in debt. I was in the hole like 16,000 a month. So I was always coming up short. And so I'm thinking of their situation, thinking, there's no way they're worse than I am. I bet you I would
Mm.
find the money. So I remember telling them, I said, well, if I help you find the money, would you then pay me? They said, well, yeah, of course. And that started to become like this almost new evolved business that I was able to create within my business was I started to help people find the money, right? How do we free up the cash flow? Just like, I mentioned with the guy, we freed up 4,200 bucks a month with him and another couple we freed up 4,000 a month. All of that was because I was going through crap myself, trying to get creative with my own finances and trying to make the best use of whatever little I had. I was just doing the same thing with them. So my pain became everybody else's gain as a result. And I just kept, refining it over the next year or so, refining it, getting to a better and better process where eventually, finally, like some of the best relationships started to show up and our company just exploded. I mean, we were almost bankrupt in 2009. And then also in 2010, we jumped up from like a few 100,000 a year to up like over 5 million, just because the right relationship showed up with the right value add that people were asking for. So that's what I mean by increasing your skills. Always look for ways to keep adding value and becoming more valuable to people in their lives. Never settle with just being good enough, right? Never settle with that. Always find ways to improve and be better. And like I said, like once you help people get more and more of what they want, the more valuable or invaluable even that you become to your clients or customers, the more you'll never want for money.
Awesome. I love that example. That's a really great example. So I think we're gonna leave it at that. And one thing we'd like to do on this show is to have each of our guests ask a question to our audience. So if you could ask our audience anything, what would that be?
Yeah, the question that would be is similar to what I've kind of been dancing around, right? Which is, how many multiple streams of passive income do you have right now? And what are you doing to get those? Right? You don't have to be there. You don't have to have accomplished everything because hardly anybody is that at that point. That's a rare place to hit. But the real question you have to say is, what are you doing right now? What first steps are you taking based on what I just said to be able to get to that place where you can work because you want to, not because you have to?
Awesome. All right. Well, Chris, before we get going, where else can people find you online?
Yeah, easiest place you can go to is moneyripples.com. That's MONEYRIPPLES.com. go there. We've got plenty of information. We even have a passive income calculator. So if you're kind of curious to see how much passive income you can create in your situation, you can actually plug in a few numbers and see how much you can generate in the next 12 months.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you.